guys, how much luck today? A little bit. Yeah. Many conversations? No? That's alright. I'm just going to be following you around, and everyone that you have a meaningful conversation with, I'm just going to pop in afterwards and tell them about the paedophile problems in the organisation, just so they've got a balanced view of the right first. Alright? Lovely, so I'll just tag along just behind you. Do you know anything about the most recent case about 4 days ago? No, so it's in Montana. A child won 35 million against Watchtower because they covered up the paedophilia. They refused to report it under mandatory mandating. About 4 days ago, you can look this up, just type in Montana court case justice. About 4 days ago, Watchtower won an appeal. You can look all of this up on the news. They won an appeal not to pay the 35 million and not to report child abuse because they are, quote, clergy class. Now, when I was a Jehovah's Witness, the clergy were all devil's work in Babylon and the Great Beast and all that sort of thing. But Watchtower have just got into court and fought the case to say that they are clergy, and that's why they don't have to report child abuse. Now, what it does sound a very odd defence, doesn't it? So what I suggest you do is assume I'm lying to you. Go onto the internet, go onto the Montana official government website of Montana, the state of Montana, and just look up the court case and watch what the Bethel-like lawyers are saying in there about being clergy class, about how they will never report child abuse unless it's mandated by law. You can watch them. So I know you just had a Watchtower. Well, as again, assume I'm lying and go and watch them talk for yourself. You just go onto the Montana government website and have a look at it on there. Yeah. You can read the transcripts, because I know you think I'm lying because you're not allowed to look at it, are you? Okay, so have you seen the Australian... No, it's funny though, because I've spoken to about over 50 witnesses about this now, and every single one says exactly the same thing. We're allowed to, but I choose not to. That would be a mind control, high control group thing. Yeah. Well,
I think I've got free will.
Well, apparently so, yeah, but obviously...
So I can choose not to do something, like I can choose not to smoke.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. But when people like Tony Morris go onto the broadcast and say, watch only what is authorised by Watchtower, avoid the apostate-driven lies. Well, if you'd like to go onto jw.org, you can have a look at it for yourself.
I've never heard that before.
Well, if you want, just go onto YouTube and type in Tony Morris apostate-driven lies. You can watch it. You can get the date from that. Then you can take that onto. Then you can go onto the JW site. You can watch it on there. Were you aware that Jeffrey Jackson gave testimony in a child abuse case? It's called the Australia Royal Commission, case study 29. You're welcome to watch Jeffrey Jackson give testimony. Again, assume I'm lying, and just look at it on the Australian government website.
If you did, I don't suppose you are lying.
No, no.
Particular respect. I think you would do a good witness.
Well,
no reason not to.
Okay, so I'll ask you a quick question. He was asked, do you think you are God's channel on this earth? What do you think his answer was?
I would think he probably said yes.
Would you? I suggest very strongly you go and watch what your leaders are saying about your faith in court. I suggest you watch the Montana case and watch the Bethelites talking about how they will never give over child abuse information unless it's mandated by law. Please assume I'm lying and look it up.
Well, I know what we've been instructed to do.
Yeah, ring the legal department. Page 72 of Shepherd in the Flock of God book, which was revised this year in January. I've read the thing cover to cover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you're never instructed once in that book to ring the authorities. You're instructed to ring the legal department. The legal department will get back to you and tell you whether or not it's mandatory to report.
If I recall correctly, I might be incorrect. I remember, this is a few years back, we were required to contact the authorities and do that.
Right, okay. Would you be able to show me that anywhere in writing? So I can show you. I can show you in every Shepherd in the Flock of God book where it doesn't say that specifically, because it was all brought up in the Australian Royal Commission.
No, this was an instruction we were given at a meeting, so
right. So we
orally communicated.
Oh, no problems at all. So I've read all the elders' letters as well, including the ones about putting the any information to blue envelopes to send off to the society.
No idea what that.
If you watch the Australian Royal Commission, they subpoenaed all of the memos to the elders, so you can have a look at that. I'll leave you with this point here to think about. In Australia, there were 1,006 paedophiles on Watchtower's register that the Watchtower knew about. Okay, again, everything I'm telling you is demonstrably true. You can check it in the court. You can watch Jeffrey Jackson testifying to this fact. Okay,
Yeah.
Of that 1,006 paedophiles that the Watchtower had on their records that they knew had abused people, that they themselves thought of as paedophiles, how many of them do you think were reported to the police over 40 years?
Sorry, I don't see the connection.
So Watchtower in Australia...
It's not impossible for a paedophile to be the Jehovah's Witness.
No.
If that was something in their past.
Okay, so there were 1,006 serving Jehovah's Witnesses that were caught abusing children in Australia over the last 40 years by Watchtower itself. Okay, on Watchtower's records, please, Jeffrey Jackson testifies to this. On Watchtower's records, 1,006 of their own congregation members they caught abusing children. Now, in court, it all came out. How many of those 1,006 paedophiles do you think Watchtower reported to the police? Take a rough guess for me. None. They reported none of them 1,006 paedophiles to the police. Do you think that's appropriate? Sorry? Doesn't sound right, does it? Now, does that sound like an organisation that's telling its elders to go and tell the authorities every time?
I think there's quite a lot of
Sorry, I'm a little bit deaf. Could you speak up a little bit, please?
I think there are a lot.
Are you recording now?
I am recording. I'm always recording.
That's why.
Please carry on.
I would have thought there were a lot of
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no. The Australian Royal Commission was not just about Jehovah's Witnesses. It was about Jehovah's Witnesses. It was about the Salvation Army. It was about the Catholics. It was about the Baptists. It was about the Boy Scouts. They went through all of them. And it's funny. I'm going to knock on all these doors in a minute anyway. No, I will. They were investigating all of them. Case study 29 was the Jehovah's Witnesses. They said that the Jehovah's Witnesses, out of all the groups that they filmed, were the ones who had put the most roadblocks in the way to supply an evidence, the ones that they had to subpoena the most information from, and the ones that were least willing to cooperate, especially over the two-witness rule. See, if a child comes to you and says that he's been raped, the shepherd of the flock of God book says, unless there's a second witness, you have to leave that in Jehovah's hands. Are you an elder?
No,
then you have no idea what the shepherd in the flock of God book says.
How is it that you've got access to this?
They all come out in court. They're released in court as evidence of the policies of the Jehovah's Witnesses. The flock of God book, yeah. Okay, so as an example, the Australian Royal Commission, they wanted the rule book for the elders of what their actual practices were. They then published that as part of the court thing. So it's direct from Watchtower. There's nothing. It's on the official government website. They had a revised version in January as well, which still doesn't say to do that. It doesn't say to report it to the police. Okay. It says that if a child is raped, all right, and comes to you with that allegation, you have to have a second witness or leave it in Jehovah's hands. True or false?
Well, as you said, we've not read the book, so.
You're not an elder either. I'm sorry, I assumed you were an elder just because your age. Everyone who was sort of 40 plus in the congregation when I was there was basically an elder. I assumed you were. I'm sorry about that. But no, you can read the Shepherd in the Flock of God book as well on the government site, so you know it's not changed or altered. It's exactly how Watchtower presented it. Page 72 talks about their child abuse procedures. It's very interesting that you had a magazine this year in May. Was it May or May edition, study edition, talking about your child abuse policies?
That's last year.
Last year. May last year. So it's January.
Yeah.
I still think it's 2019 in my head, you know. So in that one, you were told so they very carefully weave out what they do and don't do in their practices and that. Once you've read the Australian Royal Commission or you've read the Montana case and then you read that magazine again, you will see the loopholes that they are flying through in that, where they deliberately do not say they will call the authorities. All right. So I would check out the child abuse problem. See, well, I assume I'm lying, okay, and look it up for yourself. You're allowed to research, aren't you?
Absolutely, yes.
You choose not to, obviously, because you're told not to.
Honestly, I did trust very much this organization.
Yeah, why though?
Because I've recently been to India, and I come from Colombia, I've been in Spain, and now I've been here, and I see how things are basically the same, and I felt like always welcome in the congregation. So I can see that it's
So if you look up high control groups, you will see that the first thing they do is called love bombing, where they're very, very welcoming to either members from outside the area or...
What I'm learning is helping me to be a better person. How that is bad for society.
I don't have a problem with that. Okay, I don't have a problem with Jehovah's Witnesses theology. You can disprove it from the Bible, but that is beside the point, okay? I'm more than happy to do that if you want to, but the second I mention scripture, people walk away because they don't like hearing it, okay? But my problem is two things. Number one, They are one of the worst organisations in the world for dealing with child abuse. Fact. That is coming out in courts. They are paying.
More than the Catholic Church?
Yes, 100% more than the Catholic Church. No, you're 7 times more likely to be raped as a Jehovah's Witness than a Catholic.
You feel very strong about this. You feel very, very strong about this, and we respect that. But we're going to start the conversation.
Okay, so last thing I'll say on that is, you say that you say it's my beliefs. Okay, 144,000 is a belief. Okay, the end of days, the way you see it, is a belief. The fact that you have been sued for millions and millions and millions of pounds of child abuse is a fact. The fact that Jeffrey Jackson testified and said that they would never get rid of the 2-witness rule and that he knows it puts children in danger is a fact. The fact that when Jeffrey Jackson was asked, are you God's only channel on this earth, and he said no, that would be a presumptuous thing to say, is a fact. Everything that I have told everyone in Newton Abbot congregation, you can go and look up, you can quantify, you can see it on official government sites.
Okay.
You have the beliefs, I have the facts. Thank you very much for your time. Please carry on. I'm just going to go and knock a few doors that you've knocked on.